Feiyu-Tech may have the gimbal market cracked, with several previous examples all performing wonderfully well, but now the company has taken things a step further with a full stabilization system complete with attached camera, the Feiyu-Tech Summon Plus. Having 3-axis stabilization firmly under their belt, Feiyu-Tech's next logical step was to remove the reliance on a separate action camera altogether, producing their own camera solution, and that's exactly what we have with the Feiyu-Tech Summon Plus, capable of shooting video at full 4K resolutions. Within the package, alongside the user guide, users will find a micro USB charge and sync cable, as well as a 3000 mAh battery, and the gimbal unit itself wrapped up in a protective soft carry case. The Summon has been given a slightly redesigned body, yet screams premium through and through. Feiyu-Tech has focused on designing the Summon Plus using mainly metal components, not only to improve the strength and rigidity of the gimbal and handle, but also to improve stabilization, heat dissipation, and making the unit as a whole feel and look a lot better than previous models such as the G4 and G4S. Nevertheless, the hand grip section, wrapped in a silica material, is seriously grippable in the hand and sports integrated threads in the bottom for attachment of various tripods or extension mounts, adding to the unit's versatility during use. Within this slides the included 3000 mAh 22650 lithium-ion battery, providing around 3 hours of usage when shooting at 1080p from a single full charge, which is rather impressive considering it's powering the gimbal assembly as well as the attached camera. This is charged through a micro USB port located under a rubber flap on one side of the unit, and the same port is also used for applying firmware updates. Alongside this are the unit's main controls, a directional control thumbstick along with a power and mode button, and a single shutter button, all of which control not only the gimbal but also the attached camera. Further up we have a second 1/4 inch thread, adding even more versatility by allowing the attachment of various mounts and accessories. The camera itself, with that same high quality metal construction, is attached to the 3 Buttery smooth motors compensating for movements across all 3 axes. Feiyu-Tech delivers some of the best quality gimbal systems out there, and we'd expect nothing less with this example, with a full 360-degree rotation on the pan axis and a huge 310 degrees on the roll and tilt. Nevertheless, with a Panasonic-based processor in the 16 megapixel lens, allowing video capture at resolutions up to 4K at a cinematic 24 frames per second, 2.7K at 30 and 1080p at 60 to name the most common shooting modes. The 95-degree field of view may not be as wide as the GoPro for example, but captures video or images with no image distortion, so no fisheye to rectify in post, saving time as well as providing a more natural looking shot. Otherwise, it's around the same size and shape as a typical action camera, albeit with a small LED on the front beside the lens, something we've seen before with the Snopper Go, but probably won't be very useful in most scenarios. The single button on the top of the device is used for quickly switching between video and photo modes, along with a panel on the side which can be removed, revealing a micro SD memory card slot, as well as micro HDMI and micro USB ports for transferring content straight to a computer. The unit even sports 2 built-in microphones which the company states will help to reduce noise, providing detailed, distinctive audio capture. We'll put that to the test shortly. Finally, on the rear we have a nice large 2-inch display, perfect for framing your shots. It's not touch sensitive, although fortunately, considering we have the one entire unit here, it's easily controlled directly from the buttons on the hand grip, making one-handed operation seriously easy. And talking of operation, a tap of the power button brings the entire unit to life, not only instantly calibrating and leveling itself, but also switching on the attached camera and readying it for capture. The gimbal assembly is as good as we could expect from Feiyu-Tech, Buttery smooth motors on all 3 axes compensating for each movement made, keeping the camera completely steady throughout use. It all works wonderfully well. It's also very simple to use, and we have all the most common modes built right in. By default, the camera pans to either side while the horizon and tilt are locked, although a quick tap of the mode button changes this behaviour and locks all axes, keeping the camera pointed in the one direction. Finally, a double tap of the same button unlocks all axes, ensuring the camera follows your movements as you track your subject. All modes are easy to switch between, and with a little practice they'll have you shooting like a pro in no time. Where this unit really shines though is in its versatility to control the attached camera. As mentioned, the single button on the camera itself toggles between photo and video modes. while the shutter button is conveniently located on the hand grip, starting and stopping capture super easily. Although a triple tap of the mode button allows us to access the camera's menu system, which is now controlled completely with the thumbstick on the handle. The menu options presented depend upon whether the camera is set to video or image mode, but all the most common settings can be found here, while the thumbstick makes navigating the menu a very intuitive and easy process. Using the one thumbstick to navigate and change options such as resolutions and frame rates for example is refreshingly easy. There's a nice time-lapse feature too which pans the camera as it captures shots, although there's no advanced level options such as setting exposure or sharpness for instance, nothing like GoPro's ProTune mode, but even so the entire unit is seriously easy to use as a generic pick up and shoot type system. The way the user can simply pick up and control not only the stabilization, but also the camera itself from a single thumb is rather impressive and all works wonderfully well. If that weren't enough, thanks to the built-in wireless capabilities, users are able to control and use the summon alongside the corresponding app, available on both iOS and Android platforms. Using the app we can not only change settings but also control the gimbal, perfect for times when the gimbal is mounted to an object and remote operation is required. Throughout testing it works perfectly well, with a slight lag in video feed which is typical of action cameras, but the connection remained stable throughout. That's all well and good, but the camera needs to perform too, and I'm pleased to say it doesn't disappoint here either. Stabilization is just as good, if not smoother than the G4S, which was already good as it was. The motors are buttery smooth, compensating for movements across all three axes, and providing the ability to capture some nice stable footage, other than that slight bobbing as you walk of course. A problem with all three axis stabilizers, although minimized with a slight tweak in your walking style. Each motor has a great degree of motion, the pan being a full 360 degrees, and by rolling the handle all the way round the unit enters an inverted mode, allowing low level shots. Nevertheless, the image quality on the summon is pretty top notch too, with 4K video and 16 megapixel stills. The colours are bright and accurate, and the sound is as good as can be expected without an external microphone. It's obviously not as good as an external audio capture device, but for on-board microphones they aren't the worst I've come across. There's no vibrations down the hand grip from the motors, but there is a little motor noise though, although fortunately it's not enough to hinder audio capture in most scenarios. Although you may get some unwanted noise in your footage during quieter shooting. The lack of lens distortion also brings the summon up to a great standing and the shots look rather natural. It's actually rather impressive. Don't get me wrong, it's nowhere near the versatility in shooting options as a DJI Osmo, but considering the lower overall cost and the neater overall solution, it's actually rather impressive as a basic pick up and shoot stabilized camera, easily comparable to a GoPro Hero 4 without ProTune. The 2-inch display is crisp and easy to see, although I do wish it was a tad brighter, but even so it's still pleasant to use. Under darker shooting conditions quality does drop as we would expect, with plenty of artifacting, typical of most action cameras with small sensors, so there's nothing too surprising there, but on the whole the unit is a joy to use. As a complete overall solution, I've been left rather impressed with the Feiyu-Tech Summon Plus. Don't get me wrong, those after sharper video capture and more flexibility over their shot will still aim towards the DJI Osmo or for a GoPro alongside a separate gimbal solution such as the G4S. You'll achieve a higher quality image with more flexibility during the editing phase with such options. But if you're after a no-fuss alternative, an all-in-one solution without the bells and whistles, something you can just pick up and start shooting good quality video with, all wrapped up with some of the best stabilization out there, the Feiyu-Tech Summon Plus comes well recommended.